My stepsister forced me to take her place in a death game. Not only did I survive, but I also came back with insane rewards and a possessive monster boss who's now obsessed with me. When the next invitation to the game arrived, my stepsister snatched it. This time, she declared, the rewards and the boss's love will all be mine. Late that night, she knocked on the monster boss's door. He just chuckled at me. Sweetheart, he purred, I heard your stepsister's been giving you trouble. How about I twist her head off and let you use it as a soccer ball? I hadn't been back in the real world for long. My stepsister, Tiffany, cornered me. Hand over your game rewards, or I'll have my dad cut off your mom's medical payments. Her shamelessness was so astounding I almost had to laugh. 3 days ago, Tiffany had received an invitation to the game. The invitations are transferable, as long as the other person agrees. My deadbeat dad threatened me with my mom's medical bills, forcing me to go in Tiffany's place. They never expected me to make it back alive. After all, I was blind and couldn't even hurt a fly. But I didn't just survive. I got my sight back, won an SS tier item called the shape-shifting cane, and caught the eye of that possessive monster. Now guilds are lining up to recruit me. It drove Tiffany absolutely insane with jealousy. That was a rare SS tier item. With it, if she ever entered the game, she'd have a powerful tool to stay alive. I said softly, that's not your call to make. To keep my dad from screwing me over, I'd made him deposit $10 million into my mom's account before I went into the game. That way, even if I died, my mom would be taken care of. Tiffany sneered. You probably don't know, but my mom is about to sue my dad. He secretly used their joint assets to support you and your mother during their marriage. How do you think the court will rule on that? My dad chimed in, let's just meet in the middle. You give us the SS tier item, and I'll give your mom another 10 million. We can sign a contract so you don't have to worry about the money being taken back. My stepmother's eyes narrowed shrewdly. It's up to you whether you want to save your mother or not. I never thought people could be so depraved. My hand tightened around my cup, my knuckles turning white. You people are truly shameless. All 3 of them stared at me, certain I would give in to their ridiculous demands. Just then, a man from the table behind us jumped up. Enough. It's just 20 million, right? Pocket change. I can cover that. It was none other than Leo, the son of the richest man in North City. My dad's business was big, but it was nothing compared to the Leos empire. In fact, he needed the Leo family's help in more ways than one. The second my dad saw Leo, his face changed. Chloe, how do you know Mr. Leo? Leo tilted his chin up. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that she's like a sister to me. You mess with her, you mess with the wrong person. I pressed my lips together. I had met Leo in the last game. I gave him a rose that could repel monster attacks, which helped him clear the level. And Leo was the grateful type. As soon as we were back in the real world, he found out about my situation and offered to help. After all, money was the one thing he had plenty of. Realizing Leo and I were close, my dad scrambled to explain. Mr. Leo, you've misunderstood. Chloe stole the game invitation from my youngest daughter to get in. The game helped her regain her sight. We're just asking for her item as payment for the stolen invitation. Leo gave a humorless smile. Do I look like an idiot? Steal a death game invitation? Does Chloe have a death wish? Only people like me with terminal cancer, or people pushed to the edge by life, would willingly enter that game looking for a miracle. From this day forward, my family is cutting all business ties with yours. You're on your own. At his words, my dad and his family's faces went pale. My stepsister shrieked hysterically, Chloe, you deliberately brought him here to watch this, didn't you? You're a monster. You'll get what's coming to you. Before leaving, I glanced back at them and said softly, I told you before. Who gets to keep the SS tier item isn't up to you. A week later, I received another invitation to the game. It was black with red lettering, cool to the touch as always. For words were written on it. Campus Legends. Looked like that was the name of my next instance. After visiting my mom, I sat on a park bench outside the hospital, waiting for the game to begin. Seconds before it started, my stepsister, Tiffany, rushed over and ripped the invitation out of my hands. Her smile was manic. This time, the rewards and the boss's love I'm taking it all. If a blind girl like you can survive that game, then so can I. I wasn't surprised by her actions. She'd had a rough week. With the Laos putting the squeeze on him, my dad's company went bankrupt fast. Overnight, Tiffany went from a pampered princess to someone who had to take the bus. She couldn't handle the downgrade and decided to risk it all in the game for a shot at a better life. After all, many people came out of the game with incredible rewards. What Tiffany didn't know was that the game wasn't some jackpot for opportunists. It was a hell that chewed you up and spit you out. Because she hadn't completed the official transfer ritual for the invitation card, the next second, both of us were pulled into the game together. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing at the entrance of a school. Next to me was a large rock with 4 words carved into it. Crestview High. The sky was overcast, looking like it was about to pour. A thick fog surrounded the school, seeming to hide man-eating monsters within. There were more than 4 times as many players this time, 30 in total. The game had appeared in our world 3 years ago, so most people were relatively calm. As soon as I entered, a familiar electronic voice sounded in my head. Welcome, players, to the instance, the Vanished Senior Class. Clear condition. Within 7 days, uncover the truth about the class of 11. Mission rank, SS tier. A recent high school graduate next to me with glasses started laughing out loud. This instance is set in a high school? I'm in my element. I'm practically invincible here. Someone else was on the verge of tears. Man, I've been a corporate drone for over a decade. I've forgotten everything about high school. And this is an SS tier mission? I'm probably gonna die on the first day. As for Tiffany, she was the picture of confidence. So what if you forgot high school stuff? I'm sure my looks will be enough to win over the final boss. Clearing this will be a piece of cake. Tiffany had spent a fortune posting a bounty on the game forums, trying to find out how I cleared the last instance. An old player from my last game told her that a boss named Asher had been very protective of me. So she assumed all she needed was her beauty to conquer the boss and coast through the game. The thought of Asher made me lower my eyes. I wondered if I would see him in this instance. Meanwhile, in a place we couldn't see, the live chat was flying. We get to see our queen again. Hey wifey, an SS tier instance this time? Her luck is seriously bad. I wonder if the #1 monster boss will follow her here. Probably. The guy is hopelessly down bad. No cure for that kind of love. Not long after Tiffany spoke, someone called out to her with a look of pleasant surprise. Tiffany, you're in this instance too? I recognized his voice. It was Kyle, one of Tiffany's many admirers. If I remembered correctly, he was in the top guild. Kyle had several people with him, so it looked like they had used a party-up tool to enter the instance as a group. Seeing Kyle was like finding a lifeline for Tiffany. Her eyes darted toward me before she leaned in and whispered something in Kyle's ear. A second later, Kyle's expression darkened, and he shot me a hostile look. My bad. I've been so busy with instances lately, I didn't know you'd been through so much. Don't worry, I won't let you suffer for nothing. Tiffany nodded, satisfied. I knew you were the best, Kyle. Then, she mouthed 4 silent words to me. You are dead meat. The game rules state that players can't kill each other. But there were plenty of ways for players to use the game's rules to kill someone. Live chat. I'm getting a bad feeling that Tiffany and that Kyle guy are going to cause trouble for our girl. All I can say is, messing with our queen is the biggest mistake they'll ever make. Monster boss, please tear their mouths off. Just then, the tightly shut school gates slowly creaked open. A middle-aged man with a square jaw and meticulously combed short hair walked toward us. He spoke in a stern tone. You must be the new transfer students. I'm the Dean of Discipline at Crestview High. My name is Lou. You can just call me Dean Lou. Follow me, I'll take you to your classroom. As he walked, he instructed us, I can't stand noisy, misbehaving children. You will all be obedient, understand? Afraid of offending him, the players all shut their mouths and followed him into the school. The moment we were inside, the 2-meter-high school gate slowly swung shut. Along the way, every student we saw was rushing, barely making a sound. The entire school was as quiet as a graveyard. I had only taken a few steps when someone shoved me from behind, sending me stumbling toward Dean Lou. I reacted instantly. The small knife hidden in my sleeve transformed into a soft whip, and I lashed out, wrapping it around the leg of the person who had attacked me. Using the momentum, I just barely managed to steady myself. I got a clear look at the attacker. He was one of Kyle's lackeys. He was probably acting on Kyle's orders to take me out. Seeing I was unharmed, Kyle and Tiffany looked disappointed. But they didn't have time to dwell on me. The lackey's plan had backfired spectacularly. Pulled off balance by my whip, he fell forward, right into Dean Liu. It was as if the dean had eyes in the back of his head. He swung his cane, striking the man's hand just as it was about to touch the hem of his coat. I don't know what that cane was made of, but with one strike, the man's hand was cleanly severed. A sharp scream echoed through the silent campus, grating on the ears. The next second, Dean Liu swung again, decapitating the man. He retracted his still dripping cane and stared at us, saying word for word, "I told you, I despise noisy students." Tiffany had never seen anything like it. She clamped a hand over her mouth, her face a mask of terror, too scared to make a sound. Kyle's gaze, however, was now filled with a deep, murderous intent aimed at me. As for the live chat, our girl got a new item. A whip. Oh man, a whip is perfect. So many possibilities. Imagine if she used that whip on her possessive monster boy, Asher. He'd probably die of happiness. I hadn't actually gotten a new item. The whip in my hand was the SS tier reward from the last instance, the shapeshifting cane. Shapeshifting cane upgradable. Can transform into 3 different cold weapons per instance. Deals significant damage to monsters. Worried the cane was too conspicuous, I had transformed it into a dagger and hidden it up my sleeve. After that little incident, Kyle backed off for a while, no longer sending his cronies after me. But now, there was a serious grudge between us. The live chat was still searching for Asher. Our girl is here, so where's Asher? He's standing by the nurse's office. He looks like a statue waiting for his wife. He probably can't come over because of the rules. But man, when our girl got ambushed just now, you could feel Asher's killing intent pouring through the screen. I had to pull my blanket up to my chin. All I can say is, good luck to anyone who messes with our queen. No one but the live chat noticed that, over 100 meters away, a handsome man was staring in our direction. His body was perfectly sculpted, and he wore a white lab coat. A pair of gold, half-rimmed glasses rested on his high-bridged nose. Sunlight glinted off the metal frames, casting a cold, hard light. Behind him, countless tentacles writhed restlessly. We followed the dean to a classroom, where a homeroom teacher was waiting for us at the door. Before entering, I glanced at the class nameplate. It read Homeroom 3-1. The metal sign was rusted and hung precariously, looking like it had been there for years. I sat in the back row. The brown desk was covered in jagged scratches. Looking closely, I could make out words like, "Hannah slut, whore die get out, rat bastard." My gut told me this girl, Hannah, was probably the key to uncovering the truth about the class of 11's Homeroom 3-1. I made a mental note of her name. Not long after we settled in, the homeroom teacher handed out a math test. She had short hair, and the lines around her mouth were as sharp as knife cuts, giving her an air of cold cruelty. She said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "Time for a pop quiz. When the results are in, some of you will be sent to the detention room." Instantly, a wave of groans filled the classroom. The detention room didn't sound like a good place, and no one wanted to go. But aside from the recent high school grad with the black-rimmed glasses, most of the players had forgotten everything they knew about high school. There was no way they could get a good score. I wrote my name and resorted to an old classic. When in doubt, pick C. For the free response questions, I respectfully wrote solution, hoping to get at least 1 point for effort. My desk mate was a girl with a baby face, dressed like a Taoist priest. She pulled out a few copper coins and started using some kind of divination to figure out the answers. Another player had X-ray vision, but he could only see the answers of the people around him, and the high school grad wasn't sitting nearby. He looked desperate. Why is everyone's answer different? Was it even a question? We were all slackers. Amidst the chaos, only Kyle, Tiffany, and their group seemed calm. I had no idea what they had up their sleeves. With 5 minutes left in the exam, One of them claimed to feel sick and asked the teacher to take him to the nurse's office. The moment the teacher was gone, the group suddenly snatched the high schooler's test and started copying furiously. When time was almost up, Tiffany simply scribbled out the high schooler's name on his test and wrote her own. No one stepped in to help the kid. In a death game, you can barely protect yourself, let alone try to protect others. That wasn't kindness, it was stupidity. See? Even the high schooler himself didn't dare to fight back. Finally, Kyle warned him, if you dare snitch, we'll kill you. The high schooler wouldn't risk offending the top guild. He just looked defeated. It's over. It's all over. A moment later, the teacher returned. The high schooler only had time to write down a few multiple choice answers from memory. The test results would be out in the afternoon, so we had free time during lunch. After eating, my desk mate, Mia, and I teamed up to ask around about the old homeroom 3-1. Mia and I had exchanged answers during the test. Even though none of them matched, a bond was formed. It was like slackers recognizing their own kind. The moment we asked about homeroom 3-1, students' faces would turn pale, and they'd claim to know nothing. Mia reluctantly used a truth charm, sticking it on a student's head. Only then did he tell us a little about the class of 11's homeroom 3-1. The students of that class had all died mysteriously one after another 6 years ago. Since then, every year new transfer students would come to homeroom 3-1, and most of them would die for various reasons. Very few made it out alive. He looked at us, his tone turning chillingly cold as he said, "Word for word, you're all going to die." Even in the hot weather, goosebumps prickled on my arms. Mia asked me, "Chloe, is there anything you want to ask?" I thought for a moment. "Who is Hannah?" The student's face went deathly pale, and his lips trembled. "How do you know about her?" Sensing a lead, Mia said quickly, "Just tell us. Stop wasting our time." The student had no choice but to speak. She was a bad student, always hanging out with a shady crowd from outside the school. She was promiscuous, got pregnant, and didn't know who the father was. Then she went crazy and jumped off the school roof. After that, things started happening to the kids in homeroom 3-1. The good students died first. "How are your grades?" "You'll die, you'll all die." At the mention of Hannah, the student became incoherent. No matter what else we asked, we couldn't get any more useful information. Mia said, "It seems like the deaths of the students in homeroom 3-1 are connected to Hannah." The moment I walked into that classroom, I felt this overwhelming resentment. There might be more to her death than we know. I nodded. Based on what this guy said, the people who did well on the test are actually the ones in danger. Mia's eyes lit up. So the ones getting locked in the detention room tonight might not be us slackers after all. On our way back to the classroom, we saw the guy who had faked being sick to go to the nurse's office. He was on a stretcher, his chest ripped open, his insides a mangled mess, and blood was pooling on the ground beneath him. He was barely breathing, and it looked like he wouldn't last much longer. Kyle looked grim as he leaned over the stretcher. "For what did you see in the nurse's office?" "The doctor, he said I was a bad kid for faking it, and then, the guy started gasping for air, looking like he could die at any second. Kyle pressed him urgently, "And then what?" "What happened next?" For grabbed Kyle's sleeve, clutching it tightly. His eyes were wide, as if reliving something terrifying. "The doctor can't leave, so don't go to the nurse's office. You'll all die, you'll all die." A couple of seconds later, he stopped breathing. After 4 died, his chest began to swell unnaturally, as if some monster was hidden inside. The players felt a powerful force about to be unleashed. Even Kyle's usually composed face showed a flicker of fear. "How is this possible? I thought you said the doctor couldn't leave?" The words had barely left his mouth when a pure black tentacle ruthlessly burst from the dead man's chest. In that instant, the air around us seemed to freeze, a chilling cold spreading through the area. Everyone froze for a split second. A suffocating sense of impending doom washed over us. Kyle was startled. As soon as he could move, he started throwing attack items at the tentacle like they were free. But all he saw was the tentacle dissolve into a black mist and vanish. I blinked. Was I imagining things? Right before it disappeared, I could have sworn that tentacle made a heart shape at me. Live chat. Never thought I'd see a move like that. "Asher, you're killing me." Even when the rules keep him from seeing his girl, he sends a piece of himself just to make a heart for her. I'm telling you, he's so in love. Kyle was stunned. After a long moment, he said to his men, "The nurse's office is dangerous. Avoid it at all costs unless absolutely necessary." One of his men nodded, then glanced at the items on the ground. "Boss, aren't you going to pick those up?" Some of the attack items weren't single-use, they could still be used once or twice more. Kyle was still shaken. "Forget it. What if it's a trap set by the doctor? It's not worth the risk." The others agreed and left the items where they lay. With class about to start, the players had no time to worry about anything else and hurried back to the classroom. My gut told me the tentacle was completely gone, and the area was safe. I hung back, using my whip to snatch up the 2 remaining usable items. Who knew scavenging could be so satisfying? After the class bell rang, the homeroom teacher walked in, holding a stack of papers. "I've finished grading the tests. Now, when I call your name, come up and get your paper." She looked at the first test and read the name. First place, Tiffany. A smug look crossed Tiffany's face. The high schooler, on the other hand, looked resentful. That grade should have been his. Tiffany had stolen his paper and changed the name. Soon, the teacher finished announcing the scores. The top 6 students in the class were all from the top guild. They couldn't hide their delight until they heard the teacher say, "The top 10 students in the class will be spending tonight in the detention room." Tiffany was stunned. "Teacher, are you sure? We got the best scores. Why are we being sent to detention?" The teacher smiled faintly. "Did I ever say the students with bad grades would be the ones going to detention?" Tiffany froze. The teacher really hadn't said that. Her exact words were, "When the results are in, some of you will be sent to the detention room." The players ranked below the top 10 all breathed a sigh of relief. The high schooler was especially ecstatic. This was a blessing in disguise for him. Once evening study hall was over, Tiffany and the others were led to the detention room. Before she left, she turned to me, her voice practically dripping with venom. "Chloe, don't get too cocky. I've got a surprise waiting for you." I was confused. "You're going to the detention room because of what you did. What does that have to do with me? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be in this godforsaken game." After seeing 2 people die right in front of her, she was starting to realize this death game wasn't as simple as she had imagined. Kyle patted Tiffany's hand. "Tiffany, I'll protect you." As for Chloe, he looked at me, his expression certain. "She won't survive the night." They walked away hand in hand, looking like a little couple. Mia warned me, "Chloe, the people from the top guild hold grudges. You need to be extra careful lately." She handed me a charm. "This will warn you if you're in serious danger." "Thank you." Mia smiled. "I've had my own run-ins with the top guild. I can't stand the way they throw their weight around. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?" After Tiffany and her group left, Mia and I headed back to the dorms. Crestview High had separate dorms for boys and girls, with 4 people to a room. There were 13 female players this time, so the school assigned us 4 rooms. I was the odd one out, so I got a single room on the top floor, away from the other players. The moment I stepped into the room, a bone-chilling cold washed over me. Faintly, I could hear a baby crying from the bathroom. A blood-red moon hung outside the window. Tonight was not going to be peaceful. I was about to check the bathroom when there was a knock at the door. The next second, the yellow charm in my hand turned to ash. The person outside was dangerous. Well, no use running from it. I tightened my grip on the knife hidden in my sleeve and walked over to open the door. The first thing I noticed was his face. He was a tall, handsome man, beautiful even. His skin was unnaturally pale, and a pair of gold, half-rimmed glasses rested on his high-bridged nose. Underneath his white lab coat, he wore a pure black trench coat, with his shirt buttoned all the way to the top. He exuded an air of elegant, restrained asceticism. My heart skipped a beat. This was the extremely dangerous Dr. Kyle had warned us about. But strangely, I didn't sense any malice from him toward me. Even stranger, a faint scent of winter pine hung in the air around him. That was Asher's scent. But how could the man in front of me be Asher? During the last instance, my eyes hadn't recovered yet. I vaguely remembered the other players gasping when they saw Asher, as if he was terrifying to look at. When Asher had manifested in the real world, his form wasn't very pleasant either. The neighborhood kids had called him a little monster. Still, I cautiously asked, "Are you Asher?" The man didn't deny it. He smiled faintly. "I'm Dr. Sue now. A student told me you were sick and asked me to come check on you." I saw a female student standing beside him. Her eyes were vacant, like a mannequin. Seeing me look at her, Asher chuckled. "She's one of Kyle's puppets. Thanks to her, I get to see my Chloe again." Due to the rules as Dr. Sue, Asher was confined to the nurse's office to treat sick students. Unless, of course, he had a compelling reason to leave. Like now, for instance. A student had come to him, claiming that I, the resident of the top-floor dorm, was gravely ill and needed his attention. This must have been the surprise Tiffany had prepared for me. Judging by what happened to Four today, Dr. Sue hated nothing more than bad kids who faked being sick. They had tried to use him to kill me, but in a twist of fate, they had orchestrated my reunion with Asher. "Don't worry. Since they were so kind to you, I've prepared a generous gift for them in return." Asher was smiling, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. A flash of chilling killing intent glinted from behind his cold lenses. I knew in my heart that Kyle and Tiffany were not going to have a good night in the detention room. Live chat. Our queen is finally meeting her possessive monster boss. "What are you two doing standing at the door? Take it to the bed." "Yeah, exactly." Once I understood Asher's situation, I relaxed completely. "Come on in." Asher's voice was gentle. "Could you get me a glass of water first, Chloe?" "Sure." I walked toward the desk. I'd only taken a couple of steps when I heard the sharp crack of breaking bones, followed by the thud of something heavy hitting the floor. Asher's way of dealing with the puppet was as brutally simple as ever. After coming inside, he went into the bathroom. The moment he entered, the intermittent sound of a baby crying stopped abruptly. Once again, I heard the sound of a heavy object hitting the floor. When he came out, his white coat was stained with blood, and there were splatters on his hands. Under the pale fluorescent light, Asher's expressionless face looked almost demonic. He stood at the sink, slowly and methodically washing his hands. He then took out a pristine white handkerchief, dried every last drop of water, and walked over to me. A pleased smile touched Asher's lips. "Now it's just the two of us in this room. I've missed you, Chloe." I smiled back. "I've missed you too." I ruffled Asher's hair. His perfectly combed hair was now slightly messy. It made him look younger, finally breaking the intense, distant feeling he had before. Asher caught my misbehaving hand and brought it to his lips for a kiss. Then he gently bit my finger, his mouth warm and soft. He looked up, his beautiful, deep eyes fixed on me, holding nothing but me. Beneath the half-rimmed gold glasses was a well-hidden aggression and possessiveness. Heat rose in my cheeks and I pulled my hand away. My fingers curled slightly, a faint tingling sensation remaining, as if the warmth of his lips and teeth still lingered there. Seeing the pink blush on my cheeks, Asher's eyes grew even darker. "Can I kiss you?" He seemed certain I wouldn't refuse. A cool breath washed over my face as he cupped my cheeks and kissed me. It was a long, thorough, and tender kiss. I had the distinct feeling that he was about to devour me whole. Asher finally let me go when I was completely out of breath. I leaned against his shoulder, trying to steady my chaotic breathing. Asher's gentle voice whispered in my ear, "That kind student said you were sick, Chloe. How about I give you a full body checkup?" Before I could refuse, Asher's lips were on mine again. His hand expertly traced a path up my pale thigh, moving higher. The light flickered once, then went out. The rustling of clothes was especially loud in the dark room. In the darkness, I heard Asher's soft chuckle. "Chloe, you're as sweet as ever." My eyes grew misty. I gripped his black shirt, wrinkling the fabric. I bit my lip, trying to hold back any sounds, but a few soft whimpers still escaped my throat. Live chat. Our girl's legs are so pale. Asher's hands are so pale. Tears are streaming down my chin. "Asher, you lucky bastard. Why did the lights go out? Why does our girl sound even hotter now?" The screen went totally black. "Not even any sound?" "It's fine, I'll just use my imagination." Forced smile. It was a long night. My consciousness was drowned in wave after wave of sensation, and soon, I was completely enveloped in Asher's winter pine scent. The sky was already beginning to lighten by the time I fell asleep. When I woke up again, Asher was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a tube of ointment. Seeing me looking at him, he said calmly, "Let me put this on for you. I hurt you last time. This time I know what I'm doing." My eyelashes fluttered. "I can do it myself." Asher chuckled softly. "What are you afraid of, Chloe? I'm not an animal." An hour later, I finally left the dorm room. My calves were trembling slightly. Asher placed a hand on my waist, and I shot the culprit a glare. "You animal." My eyes were still watery, making me look more pitiful than intimidating. Asher had just showered and was surrounded by a cool, clean scent. He pressed his cool lips to my forehead. "My fault. You're just too delicious, Chloe." I couldn't help myself. Then, a pure black tentacle wrapped around my wrist, transforming into a bracelet. It had an inorganic gleam, and no one would ever suspect it was alive. He gently tapped the tentacle. "My power is hidden in here. If you're in danger, it can block a fatal blow for you." Then he warned the tentacle, "Don't do anything extra to Chloe." I had to laugh. Was he jealous of himself? I went to the teacher's office first. I had a doctor's note from Asher, so the homeroom teacher didn't give me much trouble and let me go to class. When I arrived, it was just after the second period. When Tiffany saw me safe and sound, she looked like she could chew nails. "You're not dead?" I shot back. "Neither are you? Tiffany might not be dead, but she looked terrible. One of her ears was missing, as if it had been brutally bitten off. Her neck was wrapped in thick gauze, and there were 5 deep, sharp claw marks on her forearm, some so deep you could see bone. Probably from blood loss. Her face was as white as a ghost's." Tiffany laughed, a mixture of anger and disbelief. "You got lucky this time. But you'll die in this game eventually. I'll make sure of it." At her words, the small tentacle hidden in my sleeve began to stir restlessly. I gently patted it. The little tentacle kissed my fingertips and gradually calmed down. Just like its master. After I sat down, Mia leaned over. "Chloe, where were you this morning? You didn't show up. I thought something happened to you." I pressed my lips together. "I got held up by something." Then I changed the subject. "Do you know what happened to Tiffany and her group in the detention room last night?" Mia had actually found out. The top guild had suffered heavy losses yesterday. There were 10 people sent to detention, 6 of whom were from the top guild. Not long after they entered the detention room, Hannah's ghost appeared, covered in blood and looking like she had died a violent death. She relentlessly targeted the top guild members, especially Tiffany. It was as if Hannah had some deep-seated grudge against them. Luckily, Kyle's older brother was a well-known powerhouse in the top guild, and had given him a lot of life-saving gear, so he barely managed to fend her off. But in order to save Tiffany, Kyle was seriously injured and was now barely hanging on, still recovering in the dorm. As for the other members of the top guild, they had all been killed by Hannah. "TSK, I guess this is true love," Mia continued. "I can feel that Hannah's resentment has dissipated a little. This damn school is just sending us to our deaths to appease her." Mia added, "Oh right. Last night, me and a few other players found Hannah's diary. You should read this." A faded yellow notebook appeared on my desk. On the cover was a cute anime girl, with the name Hannah written next to it. I flipped it open and asked casually, "Where did you find this?" Normally, a crucial clue like this wouldn't be so easy to get. Aside from the people who went to the detention room, the other players looked energetic, as if they hadn't encountered any danger. Mia's tone was light. "I found it in the nurse's office. Yesterday, a player noticed that Dr. Sue, who's always in the nurse's office, had left. So a few of us snuck in to look for clues. You have no idea how worried I was that he'd come back. That Dr. Sue is the most powerful entity I've encountered in this game so far, even though I haven't seen him in action. Luckily, he never came back, so I was able to find Hannah's notebook in a hidden cabinet in the nurse's office. Where do you think he went?" Logically, an important character like him wouldn't just leave the nurse's office for no reason. Hearing this, my hand, which was flipping through the diary, paused. I then nonchalantly said, "I don't know." "Yeah, you were in your room all day yesterday. How would you know?" What a stupid question. I just stayed silent. My slightly warm earlobes betrayed my true feelings. Live chat. Hee hee, bet you didn't see that coming. Asher was in our girls' room all night. A whole night, an entire night, and I didn't even get to see a crumb of action. I hate it here. I can't imagine how cheerful I'd be if I could have just crouched at the foot of their bed. Speaking of which, thanks to our girl, this SS tier instance has gotten a lot easier. I remember a lot of people were supposed to die in the nurse's office part. Who cares about killing people when you have your girl? If it were me, I'd be holding my soft, sweet wifey all night too. Damn it, even monsters are in relationships now. Why am I still single? I hate it here even more. I quickly finished reading Hannah's diary, my mood growing a little heavy. The Hannah in the diary was completely different from the one we had heard about. Her grades weren't great, it was true, but that didn't mean she didn't try. She studied hard, but the material just wouldn't stick. Over time, she lost interest in school. Her real passion was drawing. She dreamed of becoming a manga artist. Her hobbies were reading manga and occasionally daydreaming about a prince falling for a Cinderella. She was from an orphanage, and many of her friends were already working. Sometimes, she would meet up with her old friends. They were hairstylists and auto mechanics, all hard-working people, not the shady crowd that student had described. Hannah's life was simple, but she found her own happiness in it. That was until her junior year, when Evan, the top student in her class, confessed his feelings for her over text. Evan was handsome, came from a good family, and was an excellent student. He always had a smile for everyone, and was the Prince Charming in many girls' eyes. She fell for him quickly. One night, Evan asked Hannah to meet him in the small grove behind the school. Hannah had one of her friends from outside school help her with some light makeup. She put on her favorite dress and went to meet him, her heart full of joy. But in the grove, she found Evan and his group of friends. It was a night of pure evil. Despite her struggles and pleas, they didn't stop their assault. Instead, they taunted her with cruel words. Come on, don't act like a virgin now. Who knows how many guys you've been with? Evan just had to snap his fingers and you came running. What makes you think you're any good? You really think Evan likes you? He just made a bet with us that he could have you in 2 weeks. The genius is a genius at everything. Even getting girls is easy for him. When it was over, Evan warned Hannah not to tell anyone. I'm the top student in our year, a model student in the eyes of teachers and classmates. My friends all come from good families. If I say you seduced me and my friends, who do you think they'll believe? Me, or the girl with a bad reputation? Hannah was scared, so she backed down. Then one day, she realized she was pregnant. Her baggy school uniform could no longer hide her growing belly. That was when everything came out. Hannah told the homeroom teacher what Evan had done, but the teacher just locked her in the detention room and warned her to stop talking nonsense. Evan was a recognized model student, on track to be accepted into a prestigious university. Why would he be interested in her or do something so vile? Neither Evan's nor the school's reputation could be tarnished. Reading this, I finally understood why the top-scoring students were sent to the detention room. Hannah hated Evan and the others who had locked her away. She wanted those so-called good students to suffer just as she had. I continued reading. After Hannah was released from detention, she was isolated and bullied by her classmates. Many of them believed she had gotten pregnant by messing around with shady people outside of school, and had maliciously slandered Evan. As for Evan, he claimed that the incident had caused him to develop depression, and temporarily left school to recover at home. How ironic. The real perpetrator was seen as the victim by teachers and students, all because he got good grades. They chose to believe him without question. It was as if academic excellence was a get-out-of-jail-free card, while bad grades were the original sin. In reality, many of the students knew the truth, but some became accomplices, while others chose to remain silent, watching from the sidelines. In despair, Hannah chose to end her life by jumping off the school roof. The year after she died, the students of Homeroom 3-1 began to die one by one, as if cursed by her. I closed the diary and sighed softly, telling Mia, the most important thing now is to find Hannah's phone. It has the text messages between her and Evan. That will prove Hannah wasn't lying and expose those guys for who they really are. The diary mentioned that Evan had hidden Hannah's phone, and its whereabouts were unknown. Even if we made this diary public, It wouldn't be enough to clear Hannah's name. Many students would probably claim she made it all up to smear Evan. Several pages were torn out, and cruel words like bitch, liar, and die were scrawled in the margins, likely the work of her classmates. Mia nodded. I've already found out the places Evan used to hang out. We have gym class third period this morning. We can go search then. Okay. But things didn't go as planned. Right before gym class, the math teacher showed up. He said the gym teacher has something to do today, so this period will be math class instead. A collective groan of despair rippled through the class. The math teacher looked displeased. Look at your math scores from the other day. You have the nerve to complain? You should be glad I'm even bothering with you. Once you get to college, no teacher will care about you. You're truly the worst class I've ever taught. Now shut up and let's begin. Afraid of breaking the game rules, the players didn't protest further and obediently started the lesson. Fortunately, the math teacher just taught the class and didn't give us too much trouble. The math period passed without any major incidents. During the lunch break, Mia, myself, and a few other players began the search for the phone Evan had hidden. The library, the piano room, the basketball court, and the art room were all places Evan frequented. The library was the largest and would take the most time to search. More than half of the players went there to look for clues. The basketball court was wide open, so there wasn't much to find there. Mia and I, along with two other players, went to the arts building. Mia and I went to the art room, while the other two went to the piano room. As soon as we entered the art room, we were met with a sea of heads. They were all sculptures, painted in garish colors, with their mouths stretched into 180-degree smiles. Their pure black eyes stared directly at us. At first glance, it was pretty creepy. Mia was so startled she immediately drew her peachwood sword. What kind of artistic genius made this crap? Mia mattered. I hope he doesn't become famous even after he's dead. I had to laugh. That was a truly vicious curse. Mia said, I read a lot of these system novels before entering the game. Usually, the clues are hidden inside these sculptures. Want to give it a try? I nodded. Sure, let's try it. Mia started smashing the sculptures with her sword. I took out my shape-shifting cane, which was in the form of a whip, and shattered the sculptures into pieces. In a blink of an eye, we had destroyed about 20 of the 30 sculptures. Every single one was empty. There were only 6 left. Mia and I broke them just like the others. The last sculpture was different. As soon as Mia broke it, a bloody, mangled ghost baby flew out, lunging straight for her. This ghost baby must have been Hannah's unborn child. Mia was too close to it. She couldn't dodge in time, and her sword couldn't hit the nimble creature. Watch out! I whipped the ghost baby. The movement revealed the small black tentacle hidden in my sleeve. Before the tip of my whip could even touch the ghost baby, it saw the black tentacle, let out a piercing shriek, and fled through the window. It must have had a bad experience with Asher in my dorm bathroom last night. Now, sensing his terrifying aura on the black tentacle, it was scared off. Mia was still processing what had happened. She blinked in confusion. Why did it run away? I said, straight-faced, maybe we're just too strong. Is that it? Mia nodded to herself, then said with conviction, it must be. You know, this peachwood sword of mine is specifically designed to ward off evil spirits. Mia and I searched the rest of the art room but didn't find Evan's phone. We decided to check the piano room nearby. From a distance, we could hear the melodious sound of a piano. But when we reached the piano room, it was empty. Yet the piano was still playing, as if someone invisible was sitting at the keys. Every now and then, we could hear the faint sound of students laughing and chatting. As we entered, these sounds gradually faded, until the room fell silent. The other 2 players are gone, Mia said, her senses on high alert. Chloe, be careful. Okay. The few of us who came to the arts building had verbally agreed to meet up after searching our respective rooms. Since they hadn't come to find us, and we couldn't find them in the piano room, it was highly likely that something bad had happened to them. We searched the piano room and eventually, our eyes landed on a photograph hanging on the wall. It was a group photo of Hannah's class, the senior class of homeroom 3-1. Every student was smiling brightly for the camera. You couldn't tell at all that their hearts were already corrupt and rotten. Among them One girl's face had been blacked out. It was Hannah. A thin layer of dust covered the photo frame, as if it hadn't been wiped in a long time. This made the few handprints on the edges stand out. It seemed the other two players had also tried to take down this photo frame. For some reason, they hadn't succeeded. Otherwise, they would have wiped the frame clean to see if there were any clues hidden inside. Mia said, "I'll get it down." Her hand touched the frame, but she didn't move. She just stood there, frozen. Her eyes gradually glazed over, and a blissful smile spread across her lips, as if she were lost in a sweet dream. Even her form began to look ethereal. Meanwhile, the students in the photo frame were grinning wider and wider. I had a bad feeling. I called Mia's name a few times, but she didn't respond. I shoved her hard. The moment my hand touched her arm, the sound of the piano, which had disappeared, suddenly returned. The music was calming, pleasant, and made it impossible to resist. I felt dizzy, as if I were sinking into a soft, sweet cloud. A beautiful world was right in front of me, tempting me to give in. Join us. Forget all your troubles. There is only endless happiness here. Happiness is within your reach. Just reach out your hand to us. What are you waiting for? Don't you want to be happy forever? An alluring voice whispered in my ear, over and over. I felt myself drifting. Just as I was about to reach out my hand, I snapped back to reality. If I went with them, what would happen to my mother? She was seriously ill and needed me to take care of her. This was a sweet trap. Once you fell in, there was no coming back. I was wide awake now. Using all my strength, I pushed Mia away and lashed out at the photo frame with my whip. In that moment of clarity, I could see countless hands reaching out from the photo frame, trying to pull me in. Every face wore a malicious smile. Among them, I could faintly see the figures of the two players who had disappeared, their expressions twisted in pain. They had been pulled in, becoming part of the class, trapped there forever. The people in the photo were chanting, "Come on in. Once you're in, we'll be best friends, and we can be together forever." Yeah, right. Who wants to be best friends with a bunch of scumbags? I had already shattered the frame, and I was about to whip the ghosts. But the little tentacle in my hand was faster. It swallowed them up, one by one. Live chat. Not surprising. Anyone who tries to steal our girl from the possessive boss gets eaten. Asher be like, "If my girl is with you, then what about me?" All I can say is good job. I haven't even gotten to hold our girl's hand. How dare those ghosts touch her? Wah. After finishing off the ghosts, the black tentacle affectionately rubbed against my fingertips before settling back onto my wrist, turning back into a black bracelet. Mia, who had just regained consciousness, looked at me gratefully. "Chloe, I almost got pulled in. Thank you for saving me. When we get out of this instance, if you ever need my help with anything, just ask." I smiled. Okay. With the frame broken, a 10-centimeter hole was revealed. Inside was an old-fashioned cell phone with a picture of Hannah on it. This was the phone we were looking for. After Mia and I charged the phone, it turned on without any issues. The text messages between Hannah and Evan were still there. These messages were enough to prove that it was Evan who had pushed Hannah into the abyss, step by step. Hannah was an innocent victim from beginning to end. She had never done anything wrong. Everyone owed her an apology. Mia was confused. Why didn't Evan just delete these messages? It would have been much easier than hiding her phone, and it would have solved the problem for good. I speculated, aren't there people like that? After they kill someone, they keep their victims' belongings as a trophy. Mia's verdict. What a psycho. Now that we had the most crucial piece of evidence to clear Hannah's name, all we had to do was expose the truth about Homeroom 31. For the past 2 days, a reporter had been hanging around the school, supposedly investigating a recent bullying incident. The school, concerned about its reputation, had chosen to cover it up, especially since the bully was Evan's younger brother. He was an excellent student, and his family had donated a lot of money to the school, so they protected him. The reporter came to the school at 8 every morning. We could give him Hannah's diary and phone then. Most likely, we would be able to clear the instance tomorrow. All we had to do now was attend class and wait. Mia still looked a bit dazed. Is this really an SS tier instance? Clearing an SS tier instance in 3 days is something I never would have dreamed of. What if I've already been pulled in by Evan and the others? And this is just a beautiful dream. Chloe, why don't you slap me and see? I asked, are you sure? Mia waved her hands. Never mind, never mind. She closed her eyes and started chanting a calming mantra. When she opened her eyes again and saw me still there, she giggled. This is great. It's not a dream. When we returned to homeroom 3-1, the class, which had started with 30 people just 2 days ago, was now down to 12. Most of them looked worried. The SS tier instance was brutal. So many people had died in just 2 days. They weren't sure if they would be able to find the clues and clear the instance alive. Mia and I told them that we had found the final clue and would most likely be able to clear the instance tomorrow. The other players were skeptical but looked slightly relieved. Good news was better than no news. Among them, only one person was glaring at me with hostility. Tiffany. She walked up to me and said in a low voice, just for the two of us to hear, that Dr. Sue is the monster boss you met in the last instance, isn't he? That's why he didn't kill you last night, and that's why you were able to clear the game so quickly. He fell for you when you were blind. He'll definitely fall for someone like me, who's so much better than you. He'll be wrapped around my little finger in no time. Then clearing the game will be a piece of cake. Don't get too smug. Just you wait. I blinked, confused. Why are you always trying to rely on a man? If I had only relied on Asher, I would have died several times in the last instance. Back then, I was cornered by a brute right after entering the instance, and later I was almost lured in by a monster in my room. I fought back every time. Even when the veteran players mocked me, telling a blind girl not to cause trouble, I didn't just sit around and wait to die just because I couldn't see. I was the one who found the most crucial clue in that instance. In this game, the most important thing isn't finding a powerful backer, but becoming stronger yourself. A backer can disappear, but your own strength never will. Tiffany retorted. You think you could have survived without a man? I don't believe it. She added confidently, ever since I was a child, I've always been able to take whatever I want from others. This time will be no different. She walked away, full of conviction. I shook my head and didn't say anything more. Night fell, and after evening study hall, I ran into Asher at my dorm room door. When we parted this morning, Asher had specifically told me that my body hadn't fully recovered, and that he would be coming for a follow-up visit tonight. That way, he would have a legitimate reason to come see me. As I unlocked the door, I asked Asher, in this instance, what's your relationship with Hannah? Since I had already found the key to clearing the instance, and would be leaving tomorrow, Asher didn't hide his identity anymore. No relationship. The sister of my current persona was also bullied by Evan. So, I helped Hannah become a vengeful spirit to get revenge on those animals. No wonder Asher had killed for faking his illness. Evan had pretended to have depression to gain the sympathy of the teachers and students, which in turn pushed Hannah into a corner she couldn't escape. Of course, Asher would hate people who faked being sick just like Evan did. I guessed that if the players didn't clear the instance within 7 days, Asher, the final boss, would have gone on a killing spree. The moment we were inside, Asher pulled me into a tight hug. He buried his head in my shoulder, his voice muffled and unhappy. You're leaving tomorrow, Chloe. I don't want you to go. I stroked his soft hair and said gently, we'll see each other again, won't we? Yes, but this is your last night in this instance. We have to cherish it. With that, Asher pinned me against the door, his lips and teeth nipping and licking at my skin, while his tentacles stoked the flames on my body. A trail of soft kisses landed on my neck, moving lower. The man's voice was filled with obsession. I love you so much, Chloe. I want to be with you forever. I bit my lip. Be gentle. Okay. We have all night. We'll take it slow. He drew out the last 3 words, his tone slow and intimate. My ears burned. I covered his lips with my hand, stopping him from saying any more. At that moment, a sharp knock echoed on the door. Dr. Sue, are you in there? I'm not feeling well. Can you take a look at me? It was my stepsister, Tiffany's voice. Asher acted as if he hadn't heard a thing, continuing his advances. He whispered coaxingly, relax, Chloe. The corners of my eyes were tinged with red. I whispered, don't. My stepsister is still outside. Asher chuckled. Baby, I heard your stepsister's been giving you trouble. How about I twist her head off and let you use it as a soccer ball? He added, just kidding. Then his tone turned cold. But those who break the rules must pay the price. Although Tiffany had been injured in the detention room yesterday, the medicine Kyle had given her had already healed her wounds. Feeling unwell was just an excuse for her to see Asher. Kyle had protected Tiffany too well. If she had been paying attention that day, she would have realized that faking an illness to see the doctor was a death sentence. Suddenly, a scream erupted from outside. Why is there a ghost baby? Get away from me. With a flurry of hurried footsteps, Tiffany's voice faded down the hallway. I had no idea if she would survive her encounter with the ghost baby. Soon, I had no time to think about anything else. Asher's lips captured mine, greedily demanding more. With my lips sealed, I lost the chance to refuse and could only passively accept the pleasure he gave me. After a long while, he kissed away the tear that had been forced from the corner of my eye. Focus, Chloe. Asher really was the jealous type. Live chat. Another black screen? I'm an adult. What's wrong with seeing a little action? If you can't show us the main course, at least let us have some soup. I'll say it again, where can I sign up for a premium membership? I want to see the good stuff. The good stuff. The good stuff. The next day, when I met up with Mia, I learned that Tiffany was dead. Her body had been found on the athletic field. She had strangled herself to death. Her eyes were bulging like a goldfish's, as if she had seen something terrifying before she died. And on her body were several small, bloody handprints. Her roommate, a veteran player, warned her not to go out at night. I don't know why she insisted on going. She was so sure nothing would happen and told her roommates to mind their own business. In the end, the ghost baby got her, Mia said, shaking her head. You really can't stop someone who's determined to die. Kyle had given Tiffany's roommate some perks to look after her in the dorm. If Tiffany had just stayed in her room, she would have cleared the instance today. We had gym class that morning. Luckily, the math teacher didn't take over the period this time. Mia and I found the reporter who had snuck in and was hiding under the shade of a tree. As we walked toward him, Kyle, who had been recovering in his dorm and hadn't been seen for a while, appeared. He had also heard about Tiffany's death and was glaring at me with pure hatred. Kyle and Tiffany had been high school classmates. He had a huge crush on Tiffany and had pursued her for a long time, but she had never been interested in him. Later, when the death game appeared, Kyle was too busy trying to survive to continue pursuing her, knowing he could die at any moment. This time, Tiffany had also entered the game and had been showing him a lot of attention. This was his best chance to finally be with her. Now, Tiffany was dead, and his dream was shattered. In his mind, since Tiffany and I were enemies, her death must have something to do with me. You killed her, didn't you? Tiffany was such a timid girl. Why would she suddenly go out in the middle of the night for no reason? You must have lured her out. How could you be so cruel? She was your sister. No, it wasn't like that. Tiffany was too greedy and too naive. She wanted to conquer the final boss, so she could rely on him to clear all future instances, and she ended up paying with her life. Kyle was used to doing whatever he wanted. He didn't listen to my explanation and just attacked me. As he lunged, he roared, I'm going to avenge Tiffany. You're going to die. My expression hardened, and I drew my shape-shifting cane to defend myself. But I didn't expect Kyle to be so crazy. He pulled out 2 rare SS tier attack items. The terrifying power radiating from them made me cough up blood. Mia exclaimed, How does Kyle have SS tier items? Did his powerhouse brother give them to him? An older player said with envy, It must be nice to have a brother. Those are SS tier items. Having one is impressive enough, but he has 2. I've been in so many games and only ever gotten 1 S tier item. Chloe is a new player, right? She definitely doesn't have any good life-saving items. This time, she's probably done for. Among the players present, only Mia dared to help me. They were all afraid of offending Kyle's backer, the top guild. Or more accurately, they were afraid of offending Kyle's brother. After all, his brother, Caden, was a famously powerful player in the top guild. Mia threw several protective charms at me, trying to block some of the damage, but the power of the SS tier items was unstoppable. My whip was torn apart by the vengeful spirit summoned by one of the items. Just as the other spirit was about to devour me whole, the black tentacle that had been lying dormant on my wrist sprang into action. It transformed into a small black snake and tore the 2-meter-tall spirit to shreds. In an instant, the SS tier item lost its glow. The other players were stunned. What is that thing? It kind of looks like that black tentacle that came out of Four's chest the other day. No way. No player can control an instance boss. It's probably a life-saving item Chloe got from the last instance. The spirit from the other SS tier item saw this, changed direction, and lunged at Kyle, desperate to survive. The backlash hit Kyle, and his face twisted in pain. Even then, he didn't forget to threaten me. Chloe, make it stop. My brother is Caden. If I die, he'll make you regret it. This trick had always worked for him. After all, aside from the top players on the leaderboard, everyone was afraid of his brother. Everyone knew how protective his brother was. Anyone who crossed Kyle met a bad end. I frowned, my tone puzzled. Why would I spare someone who wants to kill me? If I let him go this time, would he let me go? No, he wouldn't. He would just get his brother to help him deal with me. In that case, he might as well die. The next second, the spirit snapped Kyle's neck. His eyes were still wide open in disbelief. Having relied on his brother to get his way his whole life, Kyle had probably never imagined that a player would dare to defy him. Live chat. So what if you have a brother? Our girl has a monster boss boyfriend. If you want to compare backers, bring it on. Who's afraid of who? Speaking of which, Asher's power is insane. Those were SS tier items. A piece of his tentacle just wiped them out. Makes sense. He's the #1 monster on the boss leaderboard. He destroyed an SSS tier instance before. Dealing with SS tier items is a piece of cake for him. Many of the players present had been bullied by Kyle before. While they felt a sense of satisfaction, they also looked at me with pity. Caden was fiercely protective. Now that his beloved younger brother was dead, I would be hunted relentlessly by him as long as I was in the game. As a new player, I would be no match for him. My only fate was death. My expression was calm. I picked up the SS tier item Kyle had dropped, a black ring. The bully-fearing vengeful spirit. Although powerful, it may betray its user at any time. Use with caution. P.S. What did the ghost do wrong? It just wanted to live. Oh wait, it's already dead, hehe. Me, what a messed up item description. The black tentacle's power was fading. It returned to me, affectionately rubbing against my pale wrist. Its form gradually became transparent. I had gotten used to having it around these past 2 days. Its sudden departure left me with a faint sense of sadness. I gently stroked the black tentacle, and it curled its tail in comfort. Little did I know that in the nurse's office far away, an unnatural flush appeared on Asher's overly pale face. Fearing further complications, Mia quickly handed Hannah's diary and phoned to the reporter. The reporter looked through them, confirmed their authenticity, and nodded. This is what I've been looking for. The next second, a familiar electronic voice sounded in my head again. System notification. The truth about Homeroom 3-1 has been successfully revealed. Congratulations, players, on clearing the instance. Clearance reward, black bracelet. Can devour all dark matter. You need to kiss it and pat it every day. It will activate its invincible simp mode, making it even stronger in battle. Asher was in the distant nurse's office, watching me from afar. I waved at him. Asher, see you next time. He smiled faintly. See you next time. After I disappeared, the man lowered his eyes, his gaze as deep as the ocean. Beneath his glasses was a well-hidden possessiveness. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the real world. At the same time, on the 36th floor of a skyscraper, a gloomy-looking man coughed up a mouthful of blood. He wiped it away expressionlessly. The person who killed my brother, I will make them regret ever being born. The end.